Welcome back to another episode of Square State Sandlot. Pretty exciting. We're on our third episode here, and this is the first one where we have all three of us. So Bill and John are both here joining me. Yes, he's joining us from across the pond. Don't need to plug the name there anymore, so that's good.
Still cool.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty exciting. We're finally all three of us on under the new rebrand. So yeah, just happy to have both of you on, and I guess we'll dive into start with some NFL talk. For those of you that didn't know, it was, Hall of Fame game, Hall of Fame weekend. From a Steeler perspective, it was a pretty special week, obviously, just having the Hall of Fame game. Bill and I talked a little bit about it last time, but they ended up winning that game for what that's worth, preseason game. But for the same weekend, they had a lot of members that were part of the black and gold, or part of Steeler Nation. So Bill Cowher was inducted. Oh, stop it! Bill Cowher was inducted. Troy Polamalu, Donnie Shell, and Alan Faneca. They obviously also included the 2020 list due to COVID and everything shutting down. So it was a really special night. If you were able to watch any of the speeches or any of the video footage, I mean, Canton looked like Pittsburgh. I mean, it was they travel. They've always traveled well, but it was pretty impressive. That crowd was pretty fired up. So all I can say is if you're going to watch one part of any of that, watch Troy Polamalu's speech. It was absolutely beautiful, super special moment. I mean, it's not like you don't expect that from him. He's always been that guy, but it was one of the best Hall of Fame speeches I've ever heard. So I don't know, just if you're looking at videos and stuff, check it out. It was pretty special, pretty fun to watch. And obviously there was a lot more, plenty of other fellas that were also included in that ceremony, none of which I care about, but I guess Bill probably has one he'd like to talk about.
Well, I think the big two for me are going to be tonight. So they're the Sunday night special for the 2021 class, and that's Charles Woodson and Tom Flores. Tom
Very
Flores,
deserving.
oh, he should have been in 20 years ago. Like, he's got 2 Super Bowl championships under his belt as a coach. A lot of coaches get in after one, so I'm not sure what the holdup was, but I'm glad they got him in before he passed away, because he's getting up there. I think he's 84, looked pretty frail, getting moved around in the cars and everything. So I'm glad they got it to him before he died, because a lot of the guys end up going in after
I was gonna say
passed,
that happens way too often. I always hate, and it's always a year or two later. And
yeah, like Ken Stabler, for example.
Good example.
Passed away just right before, and then they finally put him in. But Charles Woodson, I know John will be fired up claiming him, but everyone knows he's a Raider.
I got in a huge argument with a Raiders fan, over who had a better career with Charles Woodson, the Raiders or the Packers.
I mean, he won a Super Bowl with the Packers, so that helps.
Wasn't he hurt for that Super Bowl?
He got hurt during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's right.
But
I couldn't remember if it was the championship or during the game. Gotcha.
He made a hell of a play.
If you go entire career, he probably had a better career with the Raiders, because the first 6 were,
Not sure
with the Raiders.
That, but...
I mean, he won a Super Bowl with you guys. I'll give you that, but...
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
And he had a fine career there.
He did. But, everyone thought he was washed up when he left the Raiders, and he clearly was not.
Well, I think that's just because it's the Raiders, not really the player.
He still shut everything down. But
there's not enough said about him. I mean, all the way from his, college career on.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
he's
he claims himself as a Raider.
Yeah, and that's the important
Raider
part.
Nation. Yeah.
So he's going in as a Raider. So that's
sure
all we need to know.
he claims that ring also, to be clear.
Oh, he does. And he was one that I think Rodgers cited in his little 20-minute presser saying, why did we let him go? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously he came back to the Raiders and had, I think he finished 3 more seasons at very high level at safety. So, I'm excited for him. Like you said, not enough said about him. And I think if you're looking for a good speech, that guy is very eloquent. He gets everyone fired up. So it's going to be.
I'm sure it'll be on the same level.
And he goes
last.
He's
always been that way as well.
So I'm fired up for that. Like I said, very, very pumped for Tom Flores. I'm sure we'll see a lot of the Raider greats that have been waiting for him to join them in the Hall of Fame. So I'm excited to see Tom Flores' speech, and he's one of the first coaches of ethnic background to actually win a Super Bowl. So excited for that as well. He's always been an inspiration for me. So, but moving on from the Hall of Fame.
Before we completely drop that, as you guys have, anybody who's watched or listened to the podcast, my opinion of Tom Brady has lightened up over the last 2 years. I'm telling you, dude, seeing his personality come out more has just made me. I like him. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and I can't believe it.
Say that.
I'm telling you that he has gone from the bane of the league to this personality that you can. I don't know. I enjoy him, but to my point, I thought it was really cool. That he was there for Peyton Manning. I know Peyton mentioned how big of a deal it was for him that Tom was there for him. But this is why I love him. I mean, he tweets a picture of them, and this is all he says is, I just need to make sure he's really done. Can't risk this guy coming back.
Yeah.
Like, these little moments I have enjoyed so much coming from Tom Brady. So regardless of, I guess, on the field stuff, I've just enjoyed seeing this side of him and maybe it's always been there. Maybe I haven't given him a chance and paid attention. I don't know, but I just thought it was really cool he was there. And then these little one-liners that he always drops are just they kill me, man. I think he's hilarious. So I don't know. It was a cool little fun moment from Hall of Fame weekend. So
yeah, I don't think it's the personality hasn't been there. I don't think he was really allowed to show it in New England.
Yeah. Well, they're all business, and I get it.
Yeah, he seems a lot more free now that he's away from that campus. So, but speaking of campus, we have a University of Wyoming alumni that signed quite the contract.
Oh yes.
Love to see that.
I think we're all excited about that, and it's great to see Josh Allen get that contract because coming out of University of Wyoming, a lot of people were saying he'll never make it in the league. He had a very low percentage of completion rate, and I think people that have never been to Laramie probably don't understand why that might have been a problem. You're basically throwing in a damn hurricane all the time. And wide receiver talent's not always there. So,
and that point you just made really hit home to me. Just randomly the other day, I was actually looking back at, and most of it was the 2017 season, but I was looking back at games that I remember him being dominant in my head, and then looking back to the conditions of a lot of those games, and if you actually look at his stat lines, there's nothing that's really crazy and jumps. I mean, we knew what we had, obviously, but to your point, I remember looking back at some of these, bad weather games and, things like that, in my mind at the time, I was he just absolutely, dominated this game, and to an extent he did, but the stat lines are they're not there, you know what I mean? So, for the Bills to even have drafted him, obviously is super exciting for us and, all of Wyoming. But I'm a little surprised, I'll admit. I'm a little surprised at how big, after one season of true success, I completely back him. I'm a firm believer in him. I know that he will do it moving forward. We just haven't really seen this from the league. where you've had one really solid season, and he's going to build on it. I know he is, but it is a little crazy that it came this fast.
Well, I think
but I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, I think they see that he's building. Like his first season wasn't great, second season was better, and then this third
And that's a
season,
fair point.
he really just flew off the charts, and they think he's just going to keep getting better. In fact, there's been several publications where I've seen him as the favorite to win MVP this season. So I think around the league they're expecting a lot from him going forward, but also a nod to what he did last year. So and
that is something I've seen it a lot already. That I mean, obviously this contract throws him. Well, not just the contract, his play. He deserves to be on this list, but he's now compared to the Patrick Mahomes types. You know, he's in that category.
Yeah.
And not all of it has been very positive. I mean, we, you know, coming from Wyoming, we know, you know, what he is, what he's bringing to the table, but I still don't think a lot of the league does, or a lot of the fans at least. So, I mean, to my point, how quick this contract came, I think it does stand out to a lot of people, and it doesn't make sense to him.
John won't know where you're coming from because he doesn't have Twitter, but
Twitter
is the place to go if you want to find some negativity. So, that's like on all those posts where they were
internet.
Well, yeah, internet in general, but Twitter seems to be quite negative compared to other outlets. But
which he'll thrive off that if he even listens to it. I mean, he's a pretty cool customer, right?
It doesn't make any sense that he doesn't deserve every penny that he's getting, because, in my opinion, just behind Rodgers, he was the NFL MVP.
Yeah.
And the only reason Rodgers gets it over him is Rodgers had 10 more touchdowns.
Yep.
Right. Besides
that, they basically had a very fair, equal
I agree entirely.
Last season. And that just tells you exactly from year 1 to year 3 that like leap and bounds.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
offensive player that
to
he
Bill's
has
point, right? To Bill's point, and I mean, you're saying the same thing. You don't see that where year 3, every single, well, I guess it would be going year 4, but every single season has been a positive jump. I mean, his rookie season was rough.
1,200 yards every single season added.
Substantial growth, absolutely.
So we're shooting for 6,000 this season.
Exactly.
They keep adjusting the game, and it ain't gonna be far off.
But
I'm so impressed with him because it like Lamar, what's his face?
Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. He had a breakout season. It was a beautiful season. He won MVP, but it didn't seem progressive.
And it hasn't been sustained.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the difference between what I see with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson is he's got a game that can stay sustainable. Plus, he's big, strong, and can run. He doesn't just rely on that. He's got a monster arm, and he's becoming more and more accurate.
I agree. It's funny that I liked your comparison as far as the MVP race and things like that, because to a large extent, that's who he reminds me of as far as his ability to play that other style, but that he doesn't just revert to it all the time. He's, like I said, I mean, we're preaching to the choir with each other, but I love that it's finally reaching the rest of the league, and he's starting to get, I guess, the credit he deserves, because that's a good team. And yes, they've started to build more, but he's really jump-started that build in Buffalo. And it's not even, I can't even call it a build anymore.
They've been building for years before they had him. And I've been telling people, I guess, that him dropping to number 7 was probably a godsend.
Oh, I agree.
For his career. Because instead of like Baker Mayfield going number 1, going to Cleveland, he gets to lay back and go to an organization that actually knows how to run themselves decent.
Yep.
Well, and I think I don't want to take anything away from Lamar Jackson. I think he's a great quarterback, and everyone always says he can't throw the ball, but I think he's shown pretty consistently that he's able to. But I think Josh Allen also has a great offensive mind next to him in Brian Daboll, where Lamar Jackson doesn't. I mean, that guy is, I can't even remember who their coordinator's name is, but he's very predictable. And that's the thing. You have to adapt if you want to continue to have continued success, and he just kept dialing up the same plays. And you heard around the league, we know what's coming the second year after he had his breakout season. We know it's going to be this play. And you can't have that kind of predictability and still expect success. So
this is why I struggle with quarterbacks, and I shouldn't say quarterbacks because it's really not on them, but I will always prefer a more traditional quarterback in the sense of Josh Allen, and as far as, pocket, whole 9 yards. This goes back to the whole Cam Newton thing, and I think Lamar Jackson is also going to fall into that. Their teams become so caught up in the gimmick that is having this running quarterback that I almost think it takes their legs out from under them, because you have to have your offense run without that aspect. It's a bonus. If you look at these quarterbacks that have the ability to run, like I said, like an Aaron Rodgers, when he has that ability but he doesn't rely on it, it burns teams so bad when it does happen. Whereas, I mean, if I'm a defensive coordinator against the Ravens, you better believe that, my ends are keying in on, obviously, a quarterback, a run at any point. It's going to be your focus. You can cover the pass secondary against those guys. Because if you contain Lamar Jackson, I mean, you've basically beat them. So I don't blame him, because I agree. I think he has the skills to where he would be capable of doing differently. But because he's such a prolific runner, they get caught up in that gimmick. And it's always been something that has bugged me, because I don't think I think Lamar Jackson takes more heat than he deserves. I mean, I don't think he's been able to sustain it, but I also don't think it's all on his shoulders. So, I don't know.
That's the thing about Josh Allen, is going back to Wyoming days, you could always see him more willing to huck the ball. Just huck it in there. And he just had some absolutely mind-blowing, awesome plays, especially in the fourth quarter. Just chuck it in there. And I think that's what is accelerating his growth in the NFL, is he's more willing to throw the ball even into a bad spot than he is to just tuck it and run.
Well,
and
I think his first season he was very, very much dependent on the run. And that's mostly because they weren't protecting him well. But as you've seen him progress, for sure, he's much more willing and wanting to throw than he is to run, and that's the evolution of it. So,
yeah, I think he had 460 yards rushing this season.
Yeah,
or this last season. So it's not like he's
just capable
on running.
Right.
He is capable of it. And that's what makes him dangerous. He wants to throw the ball, but he can run.
Yeah. He reminds me a lot of, I don't know, probably Brett Favre in terms of how he's willing to take the risk, and then the rocket arm.
He's a gunslinger for sure.
But then he also has the legs of, I don't know, I think he's probably comparable to Russell Wilson with his legs.
He's got some wheels on him, and I think it's very deceptive because of his size.
I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback with his size and running ability.
Yeah.
Because he is fast and strong.
I think
he's not like a Lamar. He's not like a Brett Favre. He's not an Aaron Rodgers. He's not a Russell Wilson. Those guys are elusive.
He's basically the quarterback you would build in a petri dish. Obviously,
it's
I'm
like
biased.
what Tim Tebow
but-
wanted to be.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's Tim Tebow but can throw. There you go.
Exactly.
Not playing tight end in Jacksonville.
Yeah. But no, I think to your point, like he has more touchdowns, rushing touchdowns than Ezekiel Elliott since he's been in the league.
Exactly.
So it's kind of deceptive just to say that he can't run because he definitely can, and that's where you can't key in on one thing. You can't just send everyone back into the secondary because then he'll beat you with his legs.
Right.
And if you just do where you're collapsing down and playing prevent or doing quarterback spy, he'll eat you up over the middle. So I think he's just going to keep getting better, and as long as Dabble's there with him in Buffalo, I think he'll just continue to get better, and hopefully, like I said, if it's not Raiders, I want the Bills in there in the Super Bowl. So.
Yeah, me too.
I want him to
Hands
win
down, AFC.
I want him to win every game this year except for the first one.
Yeah.
And then if you guys
And the
match up
last
again
one?
in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, depending on how that all lines up, but well, and I guess to your point, I
You
mean,
guys
from the
have
team
6 Super Bowls.
perspective.
Bills don't have any.
Oh, do we?
So suck it.
But they went to 4 in a row. All right, that's on them.
There's no stairway to heaven. Or 7. Stairway to 7.
Give it time. Give it
That's
time.
what it's called.
All right. I mean, we've probably beat that up. I mean, we're fanboys of the guy.
Yeah.
I could
Right.
literally talk about Josh Allen all day because
If that's not clear.
he's basically been in our lives. I'm gonna say since 2016. I mean, I guess 15 he was there a little bit, but
And he's not
it
just
blows
some
my
guy.
mind. Yeah. I mean, for us, it's a weird perspective because Josh Allen's been a big deal to us for a very long time.
Well,
So
and they're getting the
I
band
love
back
seeing
together.
it.
They got
They
Tanner
are.
Gentry there and Jacob Hollister with him too. And Lord willing, we'll get Brian Hill there next. So
It's possible.
he's already on a roster, but if he gets cut, I would bet the Bills give him a look. So we'll see. But speaking of roster, Xavien Howard and the Dolphins finally got through their contract dispute. No new money, just basically guarantees up front. Also, I think they put in some performance bonuses this season. So if he plays well like he has been, he should get a little bit extra money up front. Kind of looked at it like a win-win situation. There's not going to be other players saying, well, you renegotiated with Xavien, so we want to.
Right.
Because really he only got more money the first 2 years. And like I said, it's not new money. It's just more guaranteed money. So that's what he was looking for. He got an injury guarantee that will go up to $14.5 million or something like that if he's on the roster day one of the season next year. So a lot of good things for him. And then obviously for the Dolphins, they keep one of their best players on the roster and locked up and ready to go. Darius Leonard, I don't know if you saw that new contract.
I did. He's highest paid linebacker now.
Yep. Best money for a linebacker. He got a 5-year extension for $99.25 million from the Colts. So
it's hard to compare because TJ is going to end up obviously eclipsing that number.
Yeah.
But I mean, being an edge rusher, it's kind of apples to oranges.
Yeah. I mean, Darius he's a beast for sure. Like he plays all over the field, so
he earned it.
It's good to see him. Like obviously, you always want one of those players to come to your team in free agency, but when they're that young and that good, they don't typically leave the team. So, he gets locked up with the Colts. You guys got anything to add to that? Because I think this next topic is probably going to take up a little bit of time.
The only thing I saw a really weird stat is, Josh Allen's contract is $258 million.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Brady, through his 21 years, has earned $268 million.
Yeah.
And Allen's going to make $258 in 6.
I mean,
see, that's how good a guy Tom is.
Funny stat.
Brady also has a supermodel wife that's worth more than him. So,
well, she makes like what?
I think she makes $100 million a year.
think she makes more than that.
It could be more, but
Yeah.
regardless, he doesn't need the money, and he wants to win,
Yeah.
so he's always taking those hometown discounts to get more talent on the roster for him to win with.
It is a pretty crazy comparison, though. I saw that as well.
If you guys know any supermodels we can hook up Josh Allen with, let me know.
I'm sorry. Is it hard to make like $1 million a year?
Is it hard
Or
to?
30 million a year. Because like you just said, like he's got this supermodel wife that makes like 100 million a year, so he can take 20 million a year in his contracts.
Yeah.
Like, if it was me and I want to win Super Bowls instead of making tons of money in a contract, I would take 20 million over 40 million so I can win more.
Yeah.
I mean, it was by design for sure.
Like, obviously, he's allowed to take less money because he's been doing it.
Yeah.
But people are not taking less money, or high-paid people, like quarterbacks, like, Dak Prescott. Fuck it, I'm taking 40 million or nothing.
Well, and this is going to tie into
your team to be able to afford people.
Yeah, I mean it definitely. So I get it on both sides, and this actually does tie into the next topic we were talking about. So
all right, let's take a break and come back to it.
Why are we taking a break? We got a break built in.
Bill's all ready.
I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
No breaks.
Okay.
It's a big topic, that's for sure. It's going to change things.
So obviously quarterbacks tend to make more money because they are the person touching the ball on every play, essentially. Mm-hmm. And you see like Patrick Mahomes making $45 million a year, whatever it is. Obviously, that's not stopping the Chiefs from signing the players that they want to. So there's ways under the current salary structures how you can make things fit under the salary cap. So I don't blame the players at all for saying I'm going to get mine, because if they don't get theirs, who's to say the team's going to say, okay, well we took this $20 million we saved from giving you $40 and give it to someone that's actually worthwhile? Or who's to say they don't just say, oh look, we're $20 million under the salary cap now. Great.
Yep.
That's less money we have to spend on the roster. So to build on that, I wanted to talk about the NFLPA because, well, let's just start with what it stands for, Players Association. And they have not really been doing a great job of representing those players that they're supposed to represent. And the reason I say that is there were rumors that the NFL was about to strike record-breaking deals for TV rights. And right before that happened, the NFLPA went ahead and approved the salary cap, which was lowered by like $22 million or something like that from the previous year. Yeah. So basically, by allowing that to happen before they sign these TV deals, you're cutting out a lot of the potential profits, and quite frankly, NFL didn't need to have a lower salary cap. They just didn't.
Right.
I know the owners were crying because they didn't make their, I don't know, I think they made $10 billion last year instead of 12 or whatever it was.
Gee dang.
So when you spread that out amongst, players, it's probably peanuts essentially. And NFLPA went ahead and put their signature on that line, and then the very next day, NFL announces, "Hey, we just signed, I think it was $10 billion worth of new TV rights between Amazon and CBS and ESPN and whoever." So, obviously, talking about the salary cap, where we were, I don't know. I'm interested to hear you guys' thoughts on this, because if I was a player, I would be fired up.
Well, yeah, you're the only person that it's not benefiting. I mean, this is going to have a lasting impact on, obviously, future contracts. And, I mean, basically, you're watching everybody else cash in. I mean, obviously, yes, these people are making a decent amount of money playing in the league and all that, but it's still, it's never fun to see others benefiting basically from. I mean, the players are the reason people watch. No one watches for an owner. Nobody watches, for any of the front office. So basically, you're creating this revenue, and you're the only person not benefiting from it. Because honestly, I mean, there are going to be guys that this not only is going to affect their salary, but they're going to end up being cut because, a team salary cap is lower. So, I don't know. I think it's pretty
selfish.
The NFLPA did a disservice to the people they represent. I mean, you've touched on that, and that's basically my only opinion on it. Is they're basically the stewards for these players. They're there to defend and obviously, battle the business aspect of the league. So I just, it was not well done. That's all I'm going to say. Is they should have fought back on that.
Well, and you have to remember the players' salaries are not guaranteed, other than what's specifically laid out to be guaranteed. So, one of those players that was probably going to make the team because they were a reasonable cap hit, but not guaranteed, goes from being, they're not a big cap hit, so we'll keep them for next year, to, we could probably get two players for the price of him, so let's cut him, and there goes his money. And he could sign with another team, but it's going to be at a reduced rate. And obviously that's why you saw a lot of these one-year contracts. But if I were a player, I would be, I don't know if you can raise a lawsuit against your own players or association, but I would probably be pushing for that because.
Well, and it's what it would take is players themselves are basically going to have to organize. As weird as that is to say that they're organizing against their own player union, basically, but that's what it's going to take is your big name players to really jump out in front of this and basically get the other players in the league to join them and tell them that they're not happy about it because, I mean, the damage is done, but they're there to represent them.
The only person I've really seen call out the PA has been like Cole Beasley, and he's jumping on them for the COVID protocols that are being put into place. But I don't really think I've seen. I want to say it was a member of the media that brought this up. I want to say it was like, what's the punter from the Colts that has his own show now?
Oh, Pat.
Yeah, Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, I want to say
It's
he
terrible,
was the one that
but
raised this not that long ago. But anyway, John, you got anything to add to that?
Well, it's funny because you look at all these players who are making, $20 to $30 million a year. And then it's almost sad that they're like basically just employees. They're getting pittance compared. I mean, these owners can throw fits and just cry and whine and kind of get their way, and the NFLPA kind of goes along with it, and they're making infinitely more. $10 billion? That's a crazy amount of money compared to millions. I mean, it just doesn't make any kind of sense to me that you can have some kind of record-breaking TV deal. And that's the whole thing with the NFL is they're a billion-dollar organization and they don't do shit. They don't do anything. They just make rules that doesn't make sense. They're half-assed and political bullshit. But with these players, I mean, what is it, like 2 or 3 years is the average lifespan of an NFL player? And they can't, I mean, they basically put their entire lives on risk for these 2 or 3 years to possibly make it. How many people are going into getting hurt in high school and college trying to make that?
Well, and now that there's the rookie wage scale, like, even if they make it 3 years, they're not going to make that much money. It's not going to set them up for life unless they're really smart with their money. And most of the time, when you give a college-age kid,
They
$2
have no
million,
life skills. Yeah.
they're just going to blow it because, look, I can buy a house. Look, I can buy a sweet car. I haven't had this kind of money before in my life, and then it's gone before you know it, and they're out of the league in 3 years. And this,
even the guys with long careers, how many times have you seen them where they're 10-year career, but then they're broke?
Yep. Yeah, it's not sustainable to spend
I guess
the way
that's a whole other topic, but
yeah. And I don't know. I guess that's always the reason why when people are like, they get mad at players for leaving in free agency for more money or whatever. I never go against the player. Like,
well, that's because it's more of a business now than it ever has been. So if as a player you're not approaching it, when you're on the field, I'm not saying, it's a whole nother thing. These are athletes, they're competitive, they're out there to play. They're not during the game, that's a whole nother thing. But if you're not approaching this from the company, the team is one business and me and my agent are another business. And if they're not approaching it that way, this kind of stuff will continue to happen, and they're going to get, the veil pulled over their eyes, basically. And the team is always going to do what's best for the team. And a lot of times that is derived in dollar signs.
Well, that's the thing that really bothers me, is because it's like anybody working any job. The organization, the company, the business, it's going to be fine no matter what. No matter what happens, they're going to be fine because they make the fucking money. The people who run the company basically have no power in any of it. And I just can't help but go back to like Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams right now. Like, Davante Adams has earned his money. In every aspect, he has been the, star player. Like, shows up every day, always healthy, always ready, produces, goes over expectation, and then the organization says, well, you're just not worth it.
Yeah.
It sucks because the organization is making infinitely more than the player could ever imagine.
Yep.
The NFL is making infinitely more, and there's just a stupid stopper in between him getting paid.
Well, and the players
that doesn't
are
make
always
any sense to me.
The players are always at a disadvantage, especially using Green Bay as an example. That stadium's going to be filled every Sunday, no matter what. You are always going to have those people going. Even if Aaron Rodgers left this season, that stadium is still full because it's Green Bay. And
to
they know
a point.
that.
I would say to a point because, like, let's say all the NFL players held out. You're not going to get full stadiums to watch AAF players or CFL players.
And they should.
Because we've seen it. Like,
that's true.
All these leagues that have started up have failed. And that's because they can't get asses in seats.
I agree with you, but that's why I use Green Bay as an example. Because of the type of community and culture Green Bay is, that stadium is going to be full. You are never going to see Lambeau empty.
Well, it'll never be empty, but let's say they run Jordan Love out for the next 2 seasons after Aaron Rodgers leaves, and they go 2-15 and 4-13 or whatever it adds up to be now. They're not going to be packed. Like, I'm sure there's still going to be some fans that go because it's still something to do, but you're not going to see an entirely full stadium for a crap product. It's just not, unless they lower the prices to where people are willing to pay to go watch them lose. It's just not. So, I don't know.
I agree. And I also agree with, player strikes. Players saying, fuck it, let's not go. I don't want to do this. It's not worth it to me. I want to hold out to put pressure on you losing money.
Well, I agree. I used to
kind of like with the pandemic. All these teams have lost so much money not being able to have fans in the stands.
And I don't think they have.
They
Oh
haven't.
yeah, yeah. Green Bay has lost over like 100 million
Yeah, but
this last season.
I don't think they lost that. I think they lost that in revenue. But I
Well,
still don't think they
revenue.
lost money because they have these
Right.
billion-dollar TV deals propping them up. They're going to make money no matter what.
Right.
And
They're not in the
that's
red.
the other problem of the scenario is the owners and the NFL have a lot more money in their stores than the players do. So that's why you'll see the inability of the players to hold a strike, so to speak, because owners and NFL can outlast the bank accounts of the players. So
Well, and that's why your holdouts happen the way they do. I mean, when I was younger, I was so against holdouts because all I cared about was my team performing.
Yeah, just watching.
You know, as you get older and you start to understand more of how the business works, when they're in a position to where they have that leverage, they have to.
Yep.
Because that'll be for a lot of these guys talking about the average, career. For a lot of these players, there will be one season and one season only where they have leverage.
Yep. That's contract year.
Yeah.
And that's why you see them
if you
hold out,
don't,
because
yeah.
if they don't and they get hurt that season, their career's over.
Or if they don't, then they're going to get, a fraction of what they could have.
Yep. So,
Oh.
but I think we probably beat that topic into the ground. So let's move on
Great
to
job.
something. John, what do you got for us?
Oh no.
What would you like to talk about? The Dubs?
Got a little Warriors trade that happened.
Little Eric Paschall to Utah. Is that what you want to talk
That's the
about?
one.
2026 second round pick. Doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty fired up about this pick. Like, I could understand if he was making a ton of money and he's not in your future plans, whatever. Selling him off for a second round pick, maybe that makes some sense. But Paschall has been a capable scorer.
A very capable scorer.
Yeah, like I think he made second team all rookie his rookie year.
Yeah.
And, obviously that was when they had Steph and Clay hurt for most of the season. So he got a lot more playing time than he probably would have in a normal season. But he showed, like we said, capable scorer. To give him up for a second round 5 years in the future, I don't understand. Like, this does nothing to help the team. You're not shedding salary. I think he was only making like 1.1 million this year. This is his contract year, so like if you're not willing to extend him, at least get something back for him. But kicking the can 5 years down the line before you see any kind of return for him, and shipping him to a team that's in your same division that could possibly press you for a playoff spot, doesn't make much sense to me. So
to me, he's that like a bench player that you want to have. He is that with Draymond Green. He is a pressurable defensive player who can play the 4 to 5, 3-4 to 5 on defense, and he can come in and score on perimeter. He can also drive. I mean, not with the best of them, but he's like a third, fourth option.
Yeah.
Off the bench, and he's a proven scorer. So it 100% to me doesn't make any kind of sense.
Well,
is this because of I mean, from not having any perspective on it, is there somebody? The guys you drafted? I mean, is it?
Nope.
Is this just a casualty or?
No.
I really have tried to wrap my mind around it and figure out how it makes sense in any way, and I really can't come up with anything.
Bazemore left?
Yeah, Bazemore left, but he's a guard, so not same position. But
do you think they're looking to make a move and they're just clearing it up?
That's the only other thing I can think, is if they needed to clear up a roster spot for a move they haven't made yet. But from all indications, they're mostly done. They said they're not going to do any trades.
And that's crazy because if he's a good bench guy, then
yeah.
I mean, you're risking a lot for a deal that's not done yet.
Well, and he was banged up last year, so maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe I think it was his knee he hurt. Maybe that's not healed up yet, and that's why it's such a bad return. I really don't know. But that's what they lacked all last season, was any scoring off the bench. And to get rid of the one scoring threat you had off the bench, I just don't get it. Obviously, we lost Oubre through free agency, and I think he had a little awakening because he wanted $20 million a year and ended up signing a 2-year deal for like $25 million or something like that with a non-contender. So
it's a risk you take.
Don't think that's what he wanted, but I mean, like I said, they should have got rid of him last year if they were gonna not re-sign him. So that's on them. But
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with it. But we're waiting 5 years just to see what they do with that pick. So it's going to be a mystery for many years to come.
None of it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a, sixth grader playing, 2K.
NBA 2K.
It doesn't make any sense. It just blows my mind a little bit.
Hey, Ma. They offered me a second rounder for Paschall. Should I take it? Yeah.
Meatloaf.
Okay. Well, it's in 2026. That's good. Okay. Mom says yeah. I'll take it.
It's great. I never know what she's doing.
That must have been how it happened. But anyway, 2 quick points before we head to a break. We got I always mess up his name, so I'm just going to say Messi because everyone knows him by Messi. He is leaving Barcelona after 17 years with the club. It looks like he's headed to PSG. He had a little goodbye ceremony. I can't remember if it was this morning or last night. Basically saying bye to the fans of Barcelona and said he didn't want to leave, but this is where it ended up having to go. So we'll see how he does with this new club. Obviously, I don't talk soccer a lot, but when you have a player the caliber of Messi that everyone knows them by their last name alone, it's probably worth talking about. So,
well, that press conference, I mean, I obviously don't follow soccer, but, I mean, obviously the emotion involved, but his press conference was pretty touching. I mean, if I was a Barcelona fan, then
heart would have broke right there with his.
Fan.
But and then the last note,
he was pretty tore up.
Bobby Bowden, legendary coach from Florida State. He passed away this morning at the age of 91. So that made me feel really old because I remember watching Florida State nonstop on every Saturday back in the day. But so rest in peace, Coach
Absolutely.
Bowden. He was a legend.
I'm going to say his legacy speaks for itself, that's for sure. Was a very, very successful, I mean, just, it's crazy. When I first saw it pop up this morning, I guess I don't know why I was surprised. Obviously, 91, he's had a hell of a run, but I don't know. Like you said, he was a big part of, college football for our childhood.
Yep. All right. With that, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with you to talk John's favorite subject, baseball.
Baseball. Whoop, whoop.